The more Bitcoin drops, the more capital rushes in. Satoshi Nakamoto has reportedly been found again. CZ, HKEX, and Shu. 10 years of old scores to settle. Today, let's take a closer look and dig into it.
I think some industry leaders are being irresponsible.
Contract clouds hit the credibility floor. Even industry KOLs are speaking out.
Two top figures are handing the regulators a weapon.
This battle is truly a trial for the past and future of crypto. Rebuilding value with digital assets, tracking 24-hour crypto trends, elevating wealth through insight. Hi, Monday, April 13th. This is BTV Chinese channel. Where is the chain? I'm Michael. First, let's look at the most important 24-hour crypto data headlines, sponsored by NEXO. NEXO is a globally compliant, regulated crypto exchange, now entering Asia. But it's not just a simple exchange, it's targeting major Asian clients. Under crypto compliance, how can you make your capital work efficiently? So NEXO's main function is providing staking and lending for your idle crypto, boosting its efficiency. Scan the QR code on screen for long-term fee discounts and a deposit bonus of up to 5,000 U. Any amount counts, give it a try. Okay, let's look at the headlines. Yesterday's trend was quite typical. Bitcoin fell from 73.7K to 71.1K, down 3.5% in a day. But where's the issue? It's not spot, it's leverage. In 8 days, OI went from 22 billion to 24.4 billion, clearly driven by leverage. The price surged from 66K all the way to 73K. But it couldn't hold near 73.9K. Once the trend line broke, the market turned. Crucially, since April 11th, OI stopped growing, meaning new money is afraid to leverage up. The market weakened. With the drop on the 12th, OI fell to 22.6 billion. This price drop with leverage cuts is a classic deleveraging structure. This wasn't buying, it was leverage propping up the price. So once leverage eases, the price drops. The market these past 2 days is actually a bit counterintuitive. Bitcoin's price looks a bit weak, yet money keeps piling into the exchanges. Binance's stablecoins are now at 46.3 billion, up 5 billion from the February low. Though still off the 51 billion peak, the recovery trend is already very clear. Simply put, people haven't left, the money is there, but everyone is waiting, afraid to act. On one side, futures deleveraging is pressing prices down, while stablecoins are quietly accumulating. This structure has happened before, usually a dip to shake things out, then waiting for an entry. Once this number nears 51 billion, the market is very likely to reignite. Okay, who exactly is Satoshi Nakamoto? This topic has been debated for 17 years. Over the past 17 years, there have been at least 8 rounds of people claiming Satoshi has been found. But every time, the person doesn't match. From scholars to programmers to those claiming, I am the one. The list of potential Satoshis has likely surpassed 100, yet every time we feel close to the truth, it vanishes. This time, a Wall Street Journal reporter named John Carreyrou targeted a man named Adam Back. Starting from his handshaking reaction in a documentary, he analyzed his word choice, phrasing, and punctuation habits. The analysis was quite thorough and convincing, but as you might guess, he flatly denied it. Simply put, this script has repeated many times. It always seems real, but never leads anywhere. Perhaps the answer is simple. Satoshi never wanted to be found. His greatest design wasn't just Bitcoin, but decentralization, allowing the role of the founder to completely disappear. Alright, crypto prices have been weak lately, but the community is enjoying the drama, right? The decade-long relationship between CZ, HKEX, and Shu has reignited. On the surface, it's a war of words sparked by a memoir. But in his book, CZ detailed the history of his departure from OK. Back then, there were only rumors about why he left. But now that it's in writing, it has become the official public narrative. At first glance, it might seem like a really personal feud. But if you consider it more deeply, it's a battle over who defines whom, who manages whom, and who holds the right to shape historical truth.
On April 8th, CZ's new book, Freedom of Money, was released. It mentions Shu reporting Li Lin, which reignited old grievances. That day, Shu counterattacked on X, denying the claims and presenting a 2015 contract as evidence. On April 9th, CZ proposed a $1 billion bet, making it about personal credibility. Shu declined, citing compliance. On April 10th, HKEX joined in with a long post, escalating the conflict into a clash between platforms and organizations, a full-scale battle over trust, compliance, and narrative.
In truth, CZ simply wants to redefine that history. He wants to show that he wasn't marginalized or pushed out, but left because of unfair profit sharing and internal struggles, refusing to compromise. a senior psychologist who is not a trader and who also did not personally know CZ, told me, after carefully reviewing the materials, that individuals of high status and considerable wealth often, perhaps even subconsciously, possess a perfectionist personality trait. They will use every means possible, every tool at their disposal, to clarify any ambiguous or unclear parts of their past or resume, making sure that every single detail is thoroughly explained and nothing is left out, ensuring everything is explained perfectly to secure their legacy for the future.
My personality is actually very calm. In the team, I've probably never shouted or yelled, and I've never scolded anyone. I've always been very steady, but I have very strong principles. I have a personality that's soft on the outside, but firm on the inside. I've always insisted on pushing forward things that I feel are meaningful and helpful to humanity.
But CZ's way of trying to rewrite history directly hit a bottom line that Xu Mingxing simply cannot accept. To CZ, it's just a memoir, but for Xu Mingxing, the leader of OK who is seeking an IPO, this isn't just bringing up the past. In front of global users and regulators, reporting a peer is called a breach of trust, right? And suppressing shareholders is called infighting, and executives leaving is called a loss of management control. Old Xu definitely won't take those labels.
In the past, that might have been my problem, my mistake, not our team's fault. At night, our Jume, Mia, and Maya are all very down to earth. As for me, I'm actually very down to earth too. You've seen me drinking shirtless by the roadside with the CEO of another competitor, right?
Without a doubt, for the head of an exchange that is emphasizing compliance, seeking an IPO, and focusing on platform governance and an international image, the destructive power of this kind of story is very significant. So, besides just watching the drama, what do the KOLs who are always trading and using various exchanges think about this whole situation?
Two old-timers worth tens of billions. On one side, we have an evangelist for decentralized financial freedom, and on the other, someone on Twitter acting like a middle schooler saying, "He started it, you're a liar." The industry wants to shed the wild growth label, but these two big shots are handing the regulators a knife.
When I look at this, the first thing I see is the difference between Eastern and Western cultures. Such conflicts show very clear differences in their moral judgments, work styles, and even the art of language. Different ideas leading to confrontation seems like a normal occurrence to me.
This is just domestic drama. Whether they're divorced or whatever, it's all just family business. I think we should focus more on the industry's new narratives.
For us bystanders, who's right or wrong doesn't seem that important. What we want to see now is whether Old Xu will apologize or if he'll make the payment. Xingzi, we're waiting for you.
This all stems from some early entanglements of interest. I feel that for an exchange of this scale, your founder shouldn't be acting so much like a reckless rebel anymore.
But both of them are actually doing the same thing. And that's using public opinion to cover up the truth. We'll never know the real story. Don't pick sides too easily. Look at the market, look at the products, and see who survives. That's the only fair judge in the crypto world.
If we break down this war of words, there are actually three key storylines. The first is historical grievances. This story goes all the way back to 2014.
From mid to late 2014, He brought Zhao Changpeng, who had just suffered a major crypto trading loss, to OKCoin as CTO. The Iron Triangle formed, but due to differences in management, culture, and the distribution of 10% equity, the internal rift widened quickly.
Actually, what's truly important here isn't recalling who said what or who was wrong back then. It's about the seeds sown during the early days of exchanges when everyone was growing wildly, right? We all know the stories about pulling network cables or price manipulation. The real test is among that first generation of crypto exchange founders, between their brotherhood and their spirit of contract. Which one do you think is more important?
From December 2014 to May 2015, OKCoin and early investor Roger Ver had a dispute over the operation of the bitcoin.com domain. CZ was accused of favoritism involving the V8 contract dispute, leading to a total fallout. OKCoin publicly denounced him, while Roger Ver countered with cryptographic signatures and offered a large bounty.
This contract dispute was the most concentrated and dangerous outbreak of issues. In this matter, Starshu's camp didn't play the emotion card, but the evidence card. His counterattack wasn't about hyping up an old case, but successfully pulling CZ from being a narrator of history back to someone who must defend it. This evidence puts CZ in a very difficult position. If the public doubts whether you altered contracts, manipulated versions, or selectively told the truth in one of the earliest key disputes, then the credibility of this memoir itself will be shaken. A memoir intended to repair an image instead becomes evidence in a new trial of credibility. As Ethereum's old Zhang said, everyone is so young. Why be in such a hurry to write a memoir? Starshoe and CZ are at each other's throats, so where exactly is the industry's bottom line?
Whether it's from this Binance life or whatever, you're still in it.
Relying on personality instead of systems, how much trust is actually left in the platform?
We look at other exchanges and rarely see them in the role of a competitor.
All right, the second main thread, the most dangerous and volatile part of this conflict is this second line, the whistleblower scandal. If the contract is like a Rashomon effect where everyone has their own story, the whistleblower scandal is where this battle truly draws blood.
From October to November 2020, Chinese police launched a guillotine-style regulatory crackdown on the crypto industry. Xu Mingxing was under residential surveillance for 5 weeks in October. HKEX was forced to suspend all withdrawals because he alone held the private keys, sparking market panic. A month later, Huobi's Li Lin was also taken into custody, but Huobi maintained withdrawal operations thanks to its multi-signature mechanism.
CZ's explosive allegations in his book. On page 135, we see this description. He first recalls how Xu Mingxing was taken away on October 16, 2020. Then on November 28, 2020, Li Lin was taken away. The kicker is the final paragraph. He says, 5 years later, at a dinner in 2023, Li Lin and I met again after 11 years. Li Lin told me he'd seen a screenshot showing Xu Mingxing personally reporting him to the Chinese police. It was this report that led to his arrest. Do you know what this statement really means? In that era, when crypto exchanges were in turmoil, or rather, when regulation was the top priority, handing over materials to regulators is equivalent to judging someone's industry reputation. Once this label sticks, it doesn't just hurt the individual or a single event. It damages their long-term network, prestige, and industry status. And the key person with the most right to speak, Li Lin, has remained silent. How do you think we should interpret this?
No matter how you choose to compete in business, these kinds of things that you hear from other people really shouldn't, at least in my view, be written down in a book. The reason is that once something is actually printed in a book, people will almost always automatically assume that it must be the truth, even if that's not necessarily the case.
This explains why Xu Mingxing's reaction was so intense, even a bit out of control, right? Because in the crypto industry, you can fight over profits, compliance, or historical rights and wrongs. But if the label of snitching on a peer is confirmed, it's no longer just a PR battle. It's likely a blow to the founder's credibility.
I think some industry leaders are being irresponsible, talking nonsense, and this has misled many people, leading everyone to always use frivolous language and terms to describe us.
So you see, Xu Mingxing's counterattack on Twitter is relentless. On one hand, he denies all allegations. On the other, he emphasizes you have no public evidence. He then turns around and asks CZ, did you also play the role of a state's witness? And he even dragged Justin Sun into the controversy. Meanwhile, CZ didn't stop at the moral level, but extended the issue to the platform's security and governance, bringing up the 2020 HKEX withdrawal suspension to push the debate toward whether the system is reliable.
On October 16, 2020, OKG Technology announced a suspension of digital asset withdrawals because some private key holders were cooperating with police investigations and couldn't complete signatures. As soon as the news broke, the market shook. OKB plummeted and Bitcoin and other major coins weakened, triggering panic selling. More importantly, this incident exposed the governance risk of key authority being highly concentrated in one individual. For weeks, trading continued, but user assets were frozen and inaccessible. The trust crisis continued to escalate. Xu Mingxing, give me back my hard-earned money. Withdrawals didn't resume until November 27th. This event is often cited because it proves that if a key person disappears or is investigated, the system loses liquidity instantly.
So as this war of words reaches this point, the narrative has completely changed. It's no longer about what was written in a book or who is lying, but a much more dangerous question. When top platforms accuse each other of crossing the line, who can the market still trust? The scary part of this whistleblowing scandal isn't the conflict itself, but that it directly erodes trust. Once this doubt spreads, it hurts more than just individuals. It damages the industry's fragile consensus. Does a platform run on a system or on the old scores and mutual understandings held by a few founders? Okay, let's break down the third point. This one requires a bit more insight. It's not about who was right in late 2014, but why this old grudge escalated into a full-blown PR war in 2026. Have you thought about it? Because what they're fighting over is no longer an old contract, an old grudge, or a specific claim in a book. They are competing to see who looks more like a manager of a global governance platform that society can trust today.
Today it's a meme coin, tomorrow it's 100-fold gain, the next day it's all in, and the day after that, who knows? The ups and downs of someone's life, is it worth 100, 5,000, or 50,000? When you look back at your past year after all that Binance Life drama, how much did you actually damn well make? If you're making a lot, you need to do it every year. I'd want to be your investor. I put in $200 million right now.
Xu Mingxing's strategy is clear. Position himself on the side of compliance, restraint, and systematic rules. He won't take Zhao Changpeng's billion-dollar bet, nor will he engage in attacks on private life, marital status, or moral provocations. Because he knows that if he's dragged into this emotional arena, OKX will no longer be seen as a platform governed by systems, but will regress into an old-school exchange held up solely by the founder's personal will.
Now, Zhao Changpeng's approach is completely different from Xu Mingxing's. His strength isn't in formal narratives, but in his strong personality and ability to mobilize community sentiment. Once it happens, the community quickly takes sides, forming an emotional chain of who's right and who's wrong.
When we look at other exchanges, we rarely view them as competitors. To a large extent, we're actually putting a lot of effort into helping other exchanges. This might be hard for people in China to understand, but if you look at our international exchanges abroad, there's basically never any mudslinging. We've never attacked each other or anything like that. We're always helping each other out.
In this struggle, Heyi's involvement is the key variable. When the battlefield shifts from contracts and evidence to personal and gender attacks, Heyi is no longer just Binance's co-founder, but the second line of defense for Binance's narrative. From a media perspective, Heyi's role isn't to explain old cases point by point, but to pull the battlefield out of the mud, redefining who is mudslinging, who is manipulating public opinion, and who is exploiting prejudice, thereby occupying a narrative framework where consensus is more easily formed.
Yi stepped in, to put out the fire, right? And then over at OKX, Joe May also stepped in, and the two sides started arguing incessantly. So in my view, these are all old stories. The truth is, behind every exchange, or rather every successful project, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
The reason Heyi's long post went viral isn't because it explained details, but because it claimed the moral high ground. But if we strip away the drama, this battle truly exposes only one thing. The brand and trust of top exchanges are still largely tied to the personal feuds and emotions of their founders. That's the core risk. On the surface, it looks like everyone's fighting and digging up the past, but essentially it's an industry health check. It's not testing who's better at arguing, but three key questions. First, does the platform's reputation depend on personality? Does asset security rely on the phrase, key person stays safe? And in the era of compliance, is risk managed by systems or by betting on individuals? So this isn't just simple gossip, it's an exposure of the underlying foundation. Zhao Changpeng's book is called Freedom of Money. That was just a fuse. What's been ignited are long unsettled debts of history, governance, and trust. For users, the real question to ask is, when trust is tied to a founder, how much of security and compliance is a rigid system, and how much is just a narrative?
Saudi Arabia cut its holdings from a February peak of 13,000 bitcoins to 3,954, selling 70% in 2 months. A classic failed bottom fishing attempt. If they'd held, the value would have doubled. This week, US spot Bitcoin and Ethereum saw a net inflow of $789 million, a 2-month high, breaking the streak of outflows. Are institutions buying the dip or faking a rebound? We'll find out next week. A wealth management firm with $300 million under management allocated Bitwise BTC ETFs for 63 clients. Old money is entering the fray. That's the real institutional signal. Binance spot trading fell to third globally, with HKEX and Bybit taking turns at number 1. The dominant position is shifting and industry power is being reshuffled. Altcoins generally see daily fluctuations of over 30%, and low liquidity junk coins frequently skyrocket and crash, a typical market driven by sentiment.
All right, that was our deep dive into the biggest gossip in the crypto world during this bear market. Fortunately, everyone has stopped responding now, and the hype is slowly dying down. Let's hope it all just fades away. The best solution would be for Binance to acquire OK one day. I think all the old grudges could then be wiped clean. What's your take on this? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. Our channel is a crypto news channel bringing you the latest reports every Monday through Friday. We have all our membership benefits here and we hope you'll join us. We've got to keep grinding, even in a bear market. Let's all get rich together slowly. See you tomorrow.